Hi everybody, welcome to the PearDeck Demo. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use PearDeck, starting with how to install it, where to find it, the different types of things you can do with it, and then we're going to do a quick demo on what it looks like as the teacher and what it looks like as the student. So if you're not already, get your computer out, get it ready. I'd like you to open up any kind of Google slide. It probably works best if you use a new one, although you can turn any old Google slide into a PearDeck slide as well. So take a second. If you don't have a computer, get a computer. We should have some available in the overflow room. And you can always pause the video when you need to and then resume it as necessary. So to find PearDeck, you have to go to the add-ons part of up here and click on Get Add-ons. And then we're going to search through the Chrome store for the PearDeck add-on. It should be somewhere near the top. It's pretty popular. Let's give it just a moment. Okay, so right here it says PearDeck for Google Slides. So we're going to click on PearDeck. It's free. Then it's going to be blue here for you if you don't have it already. So click on that, download it. It's going to take you through a short process where you're going to have to sign in. I recommend signing in through your school account. You're going to have to do all these things. Once you do that and you have it ready to go, to find PearDeck, you click on Add-ons. And then you go to PearDeck and open PearDeck add-on. And this is going to give you access to all of their template slides. So as you're getting things ready and as you're installing and doing what you have to do, let me explain the concepts behind PearDeck. So PearDeck is an add-on for Google Slides, and it's going to allow you to create presentations that are more interactive. Think like incorporating Kahoot into your Google Slides. So instead of just logging on or taking notes, students will be signing in to your PearDeck. When you change the screen, it changes on their screens as well, so it kind of locks their presentation to your speed. And then every once in a while, you can incorporate interactive questions. There are 6 basic types of questions. I'm going to show you each now, and we'll demo it. And the student will have to provide their answer. Now, as the teacher, you can display all of the answers on the screen, and on the teacher dashboard, which you can get if you have premium, you can do a free trial of it if you're interested. On the teacher dashboard, it'll show you who posted what answer, but when you display it on the screen, they're all going to come up anonymous, which is my favorite feature of PearDeck because it allows students to participate in their own way without fear of being wrong or being called out. And I find in all of my classes from CP up to AP that I've seen increases in engagement, in communication. People have been paying attention to the lesson. They've been asking a lot more questions, both through PearDeck and in out loud in whole group classes. So I find it's really, really helping with the confidence of my students. So I recommend that you give this a try at least once during the school year. So PearDeck. When you click on add-ons, open the PearDeck add-on, you're going to see this little bar on the right-hand side. Now this up here is the slide library. If you don't have time to design or you just want to see or add 1 or 2 into a presentation that already exists, you may want to go with the template. Now, these are slides that they've already created for you. Once you click on it, it's going to import it right into your slide. It's already good to go. You are good to go. There are 6 basic types of slides. There are text slides, which allow students to write in a text box. There is a multiple choice slide where it will give them a series of options. You can do 2 options, a true, false. You can do 3, 4, 5, as many as you want. There is a number slide where students will input a number. There is also a drawing slide where students can draw using drawing tools. There is a draggable slide where students can drag a certain, like a little icon to somewhere on the screen. And then finally, there's a slide where you can embed either a website or a YouTube video into the PearDeck itself, and students will be able to look at that website or watch that video directly from PearDeck, which is kind of cool. So you'll notice underneath these template slides down here, it'll tell you what kind of slide it is. This one is, what do you want to know about today's topic? It's a text slide. If I were to import this into my presentation, whichever slide I'm looking at, which is the intro slide here, it will put this template slide right underneath it, and it's already good to go. Now, let's say you want to use a template slide, but you want to change a few things on it. It's perfectly fine. Just like any other Google slide itself, you can edit anything on it. You can add things, you can change things, you can add pictures. So let's say I want to use this, a basic text template. I only want to do one, maybe, do now in the beginning of class. I can go in here and I can change the text. So instead of saying, what do you want to know about today's topic? I can say, describe what we learned yesterday in 15 words or less. There you go, just a bit of fun, right? And that way students will have their directions on the screen, they'll have a text box, and they can enter in that way. There are all kinds of different things. They have some for the beginning of the lesson. A lot of them are do now based. They have some for the during the lesson. Summarize what we just learned, which is really good for pausing. If you just went over a really tough topic and you want to pause and make sure that they're understanding where we're at. This is a text slide as well. But you can import any kind of graphs or charts and have them talk about it. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put up a picture and I'll ask them to make some basic observations about what they see, and we can use those observations to discuss the bigger picture going on behind it. You can do multiple choice any number of ways. You can make it a true false. You can do multiple choice with several answers. This is a draggable slide. Drag the dot to how you're feeling, right? So on and so forth. And then finally, they also have some end of lesson ones, reflections, exit tickets, that kind of stuff. This is always a really good way to end the class on a positive note, getting them to participate in getting their word out there. Recently, they just added these critical thinking ones. Same concept, right? The same 6 basic formats, but they're a little bit more higher order. So you can ask them to make connections. You can have them just consider different viewpoints where they can kind of write words and thoughts in the head. You can put kinds of graphs up there. I observe, I wonder. This might be really good for science classes. How might we solve this problem? What do we need to know to answer this problem? So it just put together for you a few higher order thinking questions in a template in case you wanted to use those as well. But what I use the most and what I use to put this presentation together are these 6 things down here. These are the core 6 questions you can ask through PearDeck, which I went over already: text, multiple choice, number, embedding a website, draw, and draggable. So what I want to do now is I've already created those different slides over here. I want to go through each one with you. We're going to set up the website one together. And then after that, I'll show you how to present with PearDeck. We'll look at it from the teacher and the student perspective. So this one I already put in as a text slide. So students are going to see this slide on the left-hand side of their page, and on the right-hand side of their page, if they have it full screen, they're going to have a little open text box. So this is just a description for you to see what the slide will do as a text slide. So I'm going to go ahead and click on text. And whatever slide is already there is going to apply the text PearDeck thing to it, which is really cool. So you can use existing slides already for PearDeck. Okay, let's give it just a moment. It can be a little bit slow sometimes. So if you don't click on text and you hit present with PearDeck, you need to have incorporated the PearDeck into the thing before it will recognize it as a PearDeck activity. So you need to click on text. You'll notice it's now a PearDeck slide because down here there's a little bar that says students, write your response. And then down here in the notes, it'll say this is a PearDeck text slide. To edit the type of question, you go back here and you can pick a different question if you want. All right, so we've made this a text slide. The next slide, let's make this, what did I make this? Multiple choice slide. Students will see this slide and a series of multiple choice options. Now, when you click on choice over here on the right-hand side in the PearDeck toolbar, I've put the question on the page, and you need to have a question on the page so the students know what to answer. When you click on choice, this will give you the option to put in those multiple choice responses once it populates. So the students will see the question right on your page on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, like what we saw with the text box, they're going to have all of the multiple choice answers. So I believe my question was, which of the following is not a River Valley civilization? So I'm going to put in my multiple choice answers. Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Rus, or Shang. The answer to that is Rus, right? So I'm going to update my slide. It's going to add the interactiveness to my slide so that when students come to this later, they'll be able to answer multiple choice questions. So which of the following is not River Valley Civ? This tells me that it is now a PearDeck slide. Please don't ever delete this. It kind of messes with the formula. And so it will be multiple choice when the time comes. All right, next. Ooh, so sorry. Next, a number slide. Students will see the slide, and then they're going to have a box where they could put a number in. So ask a question that has a number as an answer. This might be helpful for math, perhaps, where you can put the equation up on the board, and they can put in the number. So what percentage of people age 18 to 24 will vote in this election? Let's make this a number question. Now, because there's nothing that you need to add to this except the fact that you're saying it's a number question. Instead, it's going to give you a basic description of what the screens will look like. So it'll say on the left-hand slide, this is what the teacher slide will look like, and this is what the student slide will look like. So we'll just give it a second to load. I love this happy little pair. He's really cute. Okay, so it's in the middle of adding the question. Oh, okay, I didn't get it. If you've never used PearDeck before, and this is the first time you're using these questions, it will usually tell you, like, this is what the teacher screen will look like, this is what the student screen will look like. Just click OK, and you'll be fine. So once again, now I know that this is a PearDeck slide. It says students enter a number. Students will have access to that as well. Okay, website slide. Students will see the slide and whatever website or YouTube video you embed. Now, it's not universal. There are only certain websites that we'll work with, but luckily it gives us the ability to preview what it is that we picked. So I'm going to show you the hard one, and we're going to embed a YouTube video because you have to finagle it a little bit. There's a very specific link you need to look for. So this screen is what students will see on the left, really small, by the way, so make sure the text is big. And then on the right, they're going to have whatever website you want them to check out. And in this case, we're going to do YouTube. So I'm going to click on where it says website. Give it a second to populate. And then it's going to ask us for the website URL, or in our case, the YouTube URL. So while this is loading on a separate screen, I'm going to open up this YouTube video that I've got saved. It's a silly one. Okay, wait for this page to load, and then I'm going to pause it. We don't really need to watch it. Okay. So when you find the video that you want, come on, page, load. All right, so when you find the video that you want, you need to... See, it's playing already. Okay, we get it. So when you find the video you want, you have to go down here and click on the share button. So I've got share. You click on the embed button here. You need to embed this into our PearDeck. And this is where it gets a little bit annoying. You only want to copy the URL, not the whole thing, the URL. If you highlight it, it may mess you up, so you may want to use Shift and the arrow key to select only what you want. I recommend Control-C to copy. Control-C to copy. You go back to PearDeck. Hope by now it's loaded properly. Okay. And I'm going to enter the web address that I just copied. I'm going to paste it in here. My webcam just came back. I'm going to paste it in here. Okay. I don't know why that's not working. Oh, there it goes. If you've done it properly, you're going to see the previewed image here. If it says that the page can't work, it may be because it's not a secure site. Who knows? But if you've done it correctly, you will see the previewed video or website here. So once again, you're going to go to embed, right? When you get that whole link to embed, you only want the URL, right? The youtube.com/embed/code, right? You don't want anything else. So copy that, paste it in here, and update. Now, I've tried it with Newsela articles. It doesn't really seem to work, but maybe certain websites and certain news articles, it should work as well. So we'll put that directly on the screen. The students don't need to leave the presentation in order to engage in the activity. This is really cool for YouTube. I like this a lot. You know, put really small clips in there, have them watch it, be prepared to discuss. So we'll see what that looks like shortly. We know that it's worked because it says students browse this website. And like I said, it will pop up for them. The students don't need to leave the screen. All right, 2 more. The next one is a drawing slide. Students are going to see this slide, the entire slide, and then they're going to be able to draw things. So please make sure that you leave room on the slide for them to draw things. The drawing tools will be in the bottom of the screen. I'll show you what it looks like. And then finally, we have the draggable slide. Students are going to get a little bit icon. Ooh, whoops, we almost forgot to make this a drawing slide. That's why you always want to make sure if you're turning this into a PearDeck presentation, you've got that little bar in the bottom. Otherwise, it's just going to be a regular slide. Okay, let's give this a moment to load. I know I'm going through this quickly, but I hope that you are taking the time to pause this or asking some of the other people in the room for help as we're going along. And of course, you can always come find me at any time. My room is across the hall in 132. Okay, so we're adding this question in. All right, students can draw anywhere on the slide. Good, now I've done it correctly. And the final one, a draggable slide. Let me explain it while it's putting it in. So this is gonna allow you to move a little icon anywhere around the screen. And as you're gonna see in a second, you can pick the icon you want, and you can also pick the color that you want. I am partial to dogs, so I'm going to pick the dog icon. But essentially, it's like a bunch of little emojis. They're kind of cute. I had some of my students in my class the other day move a little taco around the screen to decide if they were hungry. So you can choose the draggable item, right? Some basic ones. Under people, it's kind of cute. I'm going to pick the dog because that's the best animal. I'm going to change the color to yellow because that's the best color. And as you can see up in the right-hand corner, actually, let's make that a little easier to see. Gray? Yeah, gray. So up in the right-hand corner, they're going to have this little icon, and they can drag it to wherever. So make sure you have something on that screen for them to drag it to. You may want to use some of their template slides for that. They have a few already with like sliding scales where they can move it back and forth. There's like a thumbs up, thumbs down one. You could use that if you're trying to gauge a public opinion. They've got one with, like a happy faces, feeling good, feeling bad, all kinds of stuff. I just ripped this picture, so they'll be able to kind of move it to which one they're feeling. So students drag the icon. I've done it correctly. Excellent. Okay, so when you've got your presentation, you're ready to go, and you want to present, you need to make sure that you hit present with PearDeck. If you hit just the basic present, it's not going to use PearDeck's tools. So you need to make sure the PearDeck add-on is here, and that you click on present with PearDeck. All right, bear with me just a second because I need to move this over to the left. Now to make it oh gosh. So I'm going to, it may look a little bit weird, but I'm going to have the teacher on the left-hand side and the student on the right, just so you can get an idea for what it looks like. So give me just a moment. I'm going to click on Present with PearDeck. I think my webcam may go away for a while, but my voice should still be here. So we've got Present with PearDeck. It's going to open up the PearDeck Slides launcher. Might take a minute. It's probably going to ask you to sign in if you haven't signed in before. Make sure that you sign in with your school one, right? I think the webcam's coming back. Hello. Okay, it's still loading. Give it just a moment. While this is loading, I'm going to pretend to be a student on the other side of my screen. Keep myself over there. And because I don't have instructions yet, like any student, right, I'm just going to wait and just have it up here. Now on the teacher screen on the left-hand side, it's loading the presentation. Depending on how big your presentation is, this might take a little bit of time. But right now this is loading up the presentation. It's uploading the slides, it's getting everything ready to go. And then when it's ready, it's going to give my students a join code so they'll know how to join, where to go to, that kind of stuff. It's a bit like Kahoot. They have to go to a specific website, they punch in a code, they're in. Unlike Kahoot, though, they don't have any kind of username. They're just engaged in the lesson. Their username is going to end up being their email address. So give me just a moment. It's still loading. This does take 30 seconds or so. You can get this ready to go when you're doing attendance or getting the kids settled in the beginning of the period. I like that it gives me updates. Sorry this is taking so long, still hopeful. Getting worried. Oh no. All right, let's refresh and try that again. This does not happen often, I can assure you. It's probably because I'm also screencasting while I'm trying to do this, and it's using up a lot of memory. Oh, perfect, there we are. Okay, so you're gonna get this screen, right? joinpd.com. So the students on the right-hand side of the screen, they're gonna go to joinpd.com. You can kind of see my slide in the background there, right? So joinpd.com. If they go to PearDeck.com, they're going to get a blank screen. So you have to remind them to go to joinpd.com. Once they go there, give it a moment. It's going to ask me to sign in. Tell the students they can sign in with their school account. Give it just a moment. And then once they click on their account, it's going to have just a little text box where you're going to put in this 5-letter code. Now, the letter code is always going to be in lowercase, but they also kind of spell it out for you. Sometimes the kids get confused if it's an L or an I. They'll always spell it out as well. Come on, PearDeck. You can do it. It's not usually this slow. Again, it's because I'm screencasting on my Chromebook, and my Chromebook only has so much memory. Okay, so join a presentation in progress. They're going to see a little pair hanging out, and they're going to enter the code, which is PMXCP. Oh, I'm over here now. Interesting. I don't even have to hit enter. It's going to add me. Now on the teacher side, once I'm connected, it's going to tell me that I'm connected. And then on my screen, it's going to ask me how I'm feeling today, which is kind of nice. Now, what I like about this is if you play around with the teacher dashboard, which I'll show you a little bit later, if you play around with the teacher dashboard, depending on the answer I choose, either I'm feeling great, I'm feeling average, or I'm feeling it will have that little logo next to my name, which is really nice actually, because it lets you know at a glance how everybody in the room is feeling. Maybe you want to avoid the red pairs for the day, or maybe if the red pairs put a particularly decent answer or anything really, you can show that and maybe you'll make their day a little bit better. I'm feeling great, so I'm going to say that I'm feeling great. Let me get rid of me for a little while. And here we are on the presentation, right? Over here on the teacher screen, it says I've got 1 student connected. Awesome, good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and start class because this is a 1-student class. And here we are presenting. Let me get rid of these drawing tools for a moment. Okay. Now I'm going to make the teacher side a little bit smaller because you'll be able to see all the things on the teacher side or on the student side that you can see on the teacher side. For now, I'm just going to show you the basic going back and forth and what the students can see. And then afterwards, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you the teacher dashboard, which is really where a lot of the magic happens. You need a premium account for that. They'll give you 30 days for free and then they'll extend it another 2 months after that. But if this is something you're interested in, I recommend talking to your supervisor about it. Okay, so on the PearDeck demo, the students don't have an option to move on. All they can do is click on the screen and make it a wee bit bigger, right? So they can't do anything. So it's completely guided by you. There is a way to give them student access on this little settings thing here. I can turn on student pace mode, which allows them to go at whatever pace they want. But for the purpose of this presentation, I want to go at my speed. So you're going at my speed. Describe what we learned yesterday in 15 words or less. So the students are going to see this on the left, and then on the right, they're going to have this text box. We learned about how the Aztec performed human sacrifices and other rituals, right? There we are. So I can put my response here. I can add as many responses as I want. And then on the teacher side, if I want to show off all of the responses, I can click on Show Responses. If this is full page, it will say Show Student Responses. I can click on that. And then over here, I can see all the human responses. And like I mentioned before, everything is nice and anonymous. Now, let's say you want to preview the answers before you display them all. That's probably the best choice. That's where the teacher dashboard is really going to come into this. So let me make the teacher side a little bit bigger. You're going to click on Open Dashboard. So if you're going to be presenting with the dashboard, I highly recommend that you extend your screen. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me explain. When you connect to a projector, you have 2 different ways of projecting. You can either mirror your screen, meaning exactly what shows up on your screen will show up on the whiteboard, or you can extend your screen, meaning you have this screen here on yours, but if you move your mouse all the way off the page, it's like you've created a second screen over to the right. If you're working on a PC, there's a button on your computer near the top above all the F keys that allows you to change your projector view. If you're working on a Chromebook, you have to go to here, you go to Settings, you go to Displays, and you do it from there. And if you're on a Mac, when you connect to the board with the AirPlay, you're going to have that little blue AirPlay button up here. You can click on that. You'll have an option to extend instead of mirror and kind of play with it that way. It takes a bit of practice because your mouse moves back and forth between two screens. But the beauty of that is that you can have the teacher dashboard up on your screen and the presentation window up on their screen. And they're only seeing the presentation window, but you can look at the teacher dashboard. If you are absolutely confused by that, come stop by my room anytime and I will demonstrate it for you. Because otherwise the kids are going to be seeing this, which defeats the purpose of PearDeck. So I can see, Kelly Beard wrote these responses. Kelly's feeling good. She's got that little green happy face here, right? Now let's say that these aren't really answers I want to show my class. I only want to show this realistic one right here. I can star these responses. So when I go to show the responses, and I can move everything from the screen as well, it's only going to show me the answers that I starred, right? Which is really cool. So that way you can, top a few answers, or you can pick only the ones that are relevant, or anything like that. Okay, next screen. This is a text slide. We just did this. Summarize yesterday's lesson in 15 words or less. We just did a text box. You saw what that was like. So similar kind of thing that the students can answer here. Okay, we have a multiple choice slide. On the screen, right, you will see this, but on the student side, they will have this. Which of the following is not a River Valley Civ? The Roos, right? Now, I can only add one question in here. But when you go to display the results, it's going to display the results. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. It's going to display the results like this so that you can see who answered what, right? I can hover over it in the teacher mode. I can go to this. 1 second. In the teacher mode, I can hover over it and see which students posted this. Right, so Kelly Beard said this, and I'd be able to see who posted this, who posted that. But on the screen share one, it's not going to show that. It's nice and anonymous. So you can use this as the discussion point. Okay, why did you say the Rus? Why isn't it Mesopotamia? So on and so forth. So you can use this as kind of a nice diagnostic or even a formative assessment. Okay. What's next? Number slide. Students will see the slide and a box where they can number. So here is the slide that they can see on the left, and on the right they can enter a number. I don't know, about 12%, not that many kind of do it. And when you go and show the responses, it's going to show it on a number line. Now, assume you have several responses from several students. This dotted line is going to be the median. Okay, so this will show kind of the middle of all of the responses. Now, I'm going to go in here and be cheeky, and I'm going to change my number. And as you can see, it kind of changes as you go. And once kids figure that out, they like to have a lot of fun with it. So one thing I recommend doing is clicking on this little lock button. This will lock the student's screen. So maybe you give them a specific amount of time to answer a question. You say, right, I'm going to lock it in 5, 4, right? And once you're done, click on the lock button so they can't change their answer. That's probably for the best, so you can look at the answers without the kids changing it every 30 seconds. That can be fun sometimes with draggable slides, but it kind of depends on your usage for it. But you do have the ability to lock so the students can no longer answer. That's always very, very helpful. And you can toggle whether or not you want to show the responses by clicking on the little projector view. Although if you have it full screen, it will say show responses, right? Mine just looks really small just for the sake of this presentation. Okay. Let's move on to the next screen. Okay, so this is the great one. This is the website slide. Students are going to see your directions on the left-hand side of the screen. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, it's going to have my video, right? And students will be able to view the video. If there's any captions associated with it, they'll be able to do the closed captions. They can go full screen. They can basically do everything that they would be able to do normally. So they'll be able to watch this video, and then you can talk about it.
どうしてそこでやめるんだそこでもう少し考えてみろよダメ諦めたら周りのこと思えよ応援してる人たちのこと思ってみろってあともうちょっとのところなんだから俺だってこのマイナス10度のところしじみが取れるって頑張ってんだよ絶対やってみろ必ず目標達成できるだからこそNever give up.
This is my favorite little thing. Right? So you can make a student watch this and they can get ready to talk about it after. Now, they can't answer a question while they're watching it. It's kind of like, just look at this website. You could embed different websites on here so they can have readings to go through, all kinds of stuff. But I like doing the YouTube, especially in the middle of a presentation, to really break up the flow of the lecture. So you can always have the website slide here, and then afterwards you can have a couple text slides, or you can have some multiple choice slides just to see what they think about it. All right, I believe we have 2 left. The drawing slide. Okay, loading your canvas. As you can see, it is the exact same slide if students have the ability to draw. All the way in the bottom left, they have the sizer, where they can choose the size of their pen. It goes from massive, and notice how you can draw over the tools as well, to absolutely tiny. Yellow is best color, right? So let the students know that they can change the size, because it starts off relatively large and they may not, know that they can kind of change that. So I've made a bunch of things. Let's say I make a mistake, I can undo that. I can do a highlight tool. So maybe you can put a passage on the screen and have the students highlight what they think is the most important part of that passage, or they can highlight different parts of speech, or they can highlight the hypothesis or the thesis. They can create straight lines. So if you're having them doing basic charting, or you want them to create any kind of timeline, they can do it with a straight line that way. If you have students that don't like to write with their mouse, with their keyboard pad, they can do text slides as well. You click and you type for text, and they can move that around and do all kinds of stuff with it. I can move it, I can twist it, I can extend it and do all kinds of stuff with it. And then I can erase things. Now this just lets me erase kind of like this. Notice it doesn't erase the text in the background, just all this. But let's say they're goofing off and they want to start over. They can click on the garbage can to clear the whole slide and start fresh. So you may want to give them a little bit of time, if it's the first time you've done this, to play around with it, just so they feel comfortable. This always makes for a nice do now as well. Kind of start the class off on a positive note, makes them feel kind of happy. You'd be surprised at some of the fun pictures you're going to get. Or anything really. You can ask them to draw the anatomy of a cell in biology. You can ask them to draw a visual representation of what we learned yesterday in class, any kinds of stuff. If you're doing vocab in an English class, you can ask them to draw what the vocab word looks like in a sentence if it's relevant. So you can do all kinds of fun stuff with this. You can also have a complete fill in the blank, right, and leave a bunch of blanks, and they can use the text one to put the blanks in. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with this. I find the drawing slide is probably the most versatile. And then finally, we have the draggable slide, right? So here's my little puppy. It's the same slide. On yours, it'll just say the directions in the slide, but on theirs, they'll have this little dude. It's always going to be in the top right corner that they can drag around. So how am I feeling? I'm feeling pretty awesome. I can show the responses. If you don't lock the responses, they can move that little puppy around, as you can see on the teacher screen on the left, right? The teacher screen on the left is what would be on the whiteboard that I'm displaying, or through the Epson projector. And if you don't lock the screen, they can move it around. Sometimes that's a bit of fun, if you don't mind. But if you don't want them to move their responses, make sure that you hit lock so that you've got the responses there. But on the student slide, it says your teacher has locked responses for this slide so that you can't move around. That's kind of up to you. And then again, if you're using the teacher presentation mode, thing like that, you'll be able to see responses. So whose dog is this? Oh, that's Kelly. Okay, cool. And again, if you only want to show a couple of the draggables, I could say, Kelly, right, star hers. I only want to show hers. The drawing slide, you'll be able to see all the students. You have to scroll up and down. Notice how when I changed it on here, it changed it back here as well for both the students and for me. So if you have a bunch of students in here, you can scroll up and down and you can see all the different student submissions. If you have a student that did not answer, I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to erase it and say that I haven't done anything. If you have a student that has not done anything, it's going to say, well, mine says deleted response because I did something. But if you have a student that has not done anything whatsoever, hasn't even touched it, there's going to be a list down here that says students who haven't responded, and they'll all be down there. So you'll be able to kind of check and talk to them and find out why they haven't responded. When you're done with the session, I'm going to get rid of the student view for now and just put up the teacher view. When you're done with the session, you click on end. And then this is really, really cool. You can name the session. So this is the PearDeck test. And if you click on publish student takeaways, it is automatically going to send a copy of this presentation to your student's email that they used to log in with. On the left, so it'll be a Google Doc. In the Google Doc, they will have all of the original slides that you created, And then they're also going to have all of their individual responses on the right, which I think is really, really cool. Oh gosh, I'm doing all kinds of stuff here, which I think is really, really cool. So it will allow to kind of see, it'll allow them to see not only the slides that you created, but it'll also allow them to see their responses. So if you have a student that wants to go over the notes later or needs the printed notes for whatever reason, or if you want them to have their takeaways, if you click on Publish Student Takeaways, save and end session, they're going to get an email. End the session of public takeaways. They're going to get an email, which I'm going to open up in just a moment, with your slides and their responses. So it is getting a link. Another thing you can do if you don't want to publish it, but you want to push it out through Classroom, is you can click on Share to Google Classroom, and it will send this link to them. The students will click on this, and it will download for them your slides and their responses. So I'm going to return back to Google Slides now. I've just had a successful session. Everything is good. While I'm waiting for my email to come in, let me just show you one other thing. This should just take me back to my Google Slides. So one other place that you can go, and I've saved it on my bookmarks, but it's app.peardeck.com. All right, you can access this through PearDeck, or you can just search up PearDeck on Google and you can find this link. But if you have an account through PearDeck, which hopefully you've created by now in going through this presentation with me, if you've created an account through PearDeck, you can see all of the presentations that you've done kind of listed. So once this loads properly, I'll be able to show you what it looks like. And then I'm going to show you the takeaways, and then we will be done. Let's give this just a moment to load. So let's say you teach the same prep for a few periods in a row. You can either leave the presentation open and have all the students use the same one, or maybe you want to have different sessions per class. It kind of depends on how you want to run it. But if you go to app.peardeck.com, you can click on sessions, and it will show you all of the PearDeck sessions that you have. It will show you whether you've left a session open or closed. Open sessions have this little green dot here. This blue one is for a student-paced session. I created this for my AP students for them to work through while I was away, so they kind of still had their presentation. I can open up any closed session that I want. I can rename them. I can get the takeaways ready to go. I can open up the presentation screen, which is the one that the students will see on the whiteboard. I can open up the teacher dashboard so I can see the students' results, all kinds of stuff. So this allows me to see all the different sessions that I've done. And as you can see, I've done a lot this year so far. Okay, I noticed that my email came in, so let me just go to Gmail really fast and let me show you what that looks like. And then if you have any questions, you can ask the people around you in the one-on-one session, or you can email me at any time. Let's wait for my email to come in. This part is really cool. Once I discovered that it automatically gets sent to the email, I thought that was really, really awesome and really helpful. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it, but my dog is snoring in the background. Oh, poor baby. Come on, email. You're only slow because I'm screencasting. Give it just a moment. So PearDeck, I find I use most days where I'm doing a lecture in the classroom, even if it's just simply one slide in the beginning or one thing at the end. I do find that I use PearDeck a lot. The students get very used to signing in. I tell them to bookmark the joinpd.com so they don't have to go to it every time. They can just click on it in their bookmarks bar. They've become pretty adept at it, especially on the Chromebook. Now, I highly recommend that they have PearDeck full screen on their Chromebook so they can see the entrance boxes. Otherwise, it's going to have a little green link that says enter answer, and it's a little bit harder to see. So I recommend that they have it full screen on their computer. This also allows you, so here's the email that they're going to get once they finish the presentation and you publish it. I'll open this, I'll keep explaining. because in the teacher dashboard, it also tells you whether a student has or has not responded, you can tell at a glance whether or not they're actually paying attention, and you can always go and redirect them as need be. So I actually show my students that I have this ability, because then it allows me to, or rather it allows them to make that decision. Like, they know that I can see whether or not they're paying attention. And if I throw a bunch of PearDeck slides in there, it really keeps them on their toes, and they're not quite sure when they're going to have to participate. So I find they just stay engaged the whole time. Plus, it asks them for their opinion and their feedback, and they do really like that. So once they get their PearDeck responses, again, I just allowed them to publish the takeaways, and this was automatically sent to my email as a participant. It's going to have a box up here where I can put in a summary if I want. You can always make students do this as a homework assignment and resubmit it, or you can just, have it as an optional thing. But the magic here is part 2, responses. It's going to have all of the slides. If it is not a PearDeck slide, it's just going to have the slide in the middle of this box. But if it is a PearDeck slide, scroll down a wee bit, it'll have the slide on the left, and it'll have their answer or answers on the right-hand side, which is really cool. So it shows them the slide, and it shows them how they participated and what their responses were in case they forget. This also might be helpful for if they're reviewing the multiple choice. If you put a bunch of multiple choice in there and they were going to review it, then it would at least give them the questions and the answers. So I think this is a really awesome way for kids to be able to have the presentations, but also have their responses, which I really, really like. So that's PearDeck. If you guys have any further questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. My room is 132 across from the cafeteria. You can email me at kelly_beard@mplainfield.org. If you'd like a one-on-one session after school to work on this and maybe demo it, I can be your student. You can put together a presentation. I'm always welcome, or rather, you're always welcome. I'm always open for that. If you want to do a PearDeck in your class and you'd like me to come check it out and see how it's working and help you, I'm also available to do that. So please, at any time, if you're interested in doing a PearDeck demo and you want help or need help, reach out. I'll be there to help you. I hope you guys enjoyed this session, and I look forward to the next advanced class that we have together. Enjoy the rest of your PD day.